What does Charles Manson and John F. Kennedy have in common? A man by the name of Jolly West. Let me start at the beginning. If you're somebody that's interested in the JFK assassination, the Tate murders, and all that counterculture stuff that was going on back in the day, this is probably the video for you. To begin with, all that counterculture shit was a CIA psyop. Because what happened after World War II is that under Project Paperclip, we brought all the Nazi scientists to America. So the Nazis never lost the war. They just moved to America. Russia got a couple of them too, but we got their rocket scientists, which is where NASA came from and all that made up movie studio bullshit that they sell us all the time to basically create a slush fund to fund Black Ops, like I'm about to talk about. Black Ops like MK Ultra. And MK Ultra was what Hitler was doing. That's why it's called MK, because it's in German. Control. Überkontroll. Mind control. Complete control. The Übermensch. Nietzsche's Übermensch. But like a perverted version. That's remote control. Manchurian candidates and all that kind of shit. So the CIA created the hippie movement in order to be able to have an endless supply of samples, a completely cross-section of people that could be exploited to use drugs and study them. There's an operation, one of many, but one of them was Operation Midnight Climax, where they would get these gorgeous hippie chicks to seduce guys and drug them and try to program them and do all kinds of stuff and see if they could wipe their memories of the event taking place. But the hippie movement was all about blending in, making the sheep go in a certain direction, and then they can pluck out sheep. The wolves in sheep's clothing could pluck out, and they would just blend right in, right? They would blend in with the other sheep because everyone's fucked up. Everyone's just partying and it's crazy. And you can get into the sexual revolution. That was fake too. They used Kinsey and a guy by the last name Money. Can't remember his first name. I think it was John Money. Both of them were sexual deviants. Kinsley was a pedophile, and he molested a lot of kids under the cover of science. And then he used a cross-section of sexual deviants to write a book that became the staple of what is considered to this day the baseline for American sexuality. And he used rapists and kid molesters and just the worst kind of sexual deviants. And Money, his big experiment was there was a set of twins that one of them during circumcision was maimed very bad. And this is where the entire idea about sexuality being a social construct, Mr. Money, that's where that whole idea came from. He chopped the kid's quang off and had his parents raise him as a girl. So they were identical twins. One was raised as a boy and one was raised as a girl. And he was their psychiatrist, and he made the twins and studied them. Both twins committed suicide when they got older. But nonetheless, his ideas in regards to the American sexual baseline and sexuality being a social construct are alive and well and are embodied in the LGBT movement perfectly. That's where that comes from. And if you understand the whole Sigmund Freud being a fraud, if you understand that Darwin was a fraud and a Marxist, if you understand Edward Bernays was the father of propaganda and nephew to Sigmund Freud, I've made that video, go back and watch it. All these people were peppered in to mind control the country and the world. But there's a reason why the Illuminati calls America the Great Experiment, because this is where they do the great experiments, the great work, controlling the world. And all these people created programs because your brain is a computer. It's just a computer, and it's got a soul in it. So it's an avatar, but it already comes with presets. Just like a computer. You buy a Mac and it already comes with stuff installed in it. A lot of stuff that you don't even use, but you can access it. And if you learn how to use it, you can use those apps, and same as your phone. It's exactly the same. It comes with stuff that's built in. It comes with presets. It works a certain way, and you can get in there with developer options if you know how to access them, and customize it whatever way you want. And if you can just get the people to be susceptible to give their free will away, to give the control that the driver, the soul, has to control the beast body with these presets, if you can get the person to give up their free will and put it in the hands of an authority, then you can have access to those developer options, and you can customize the person into a Manchurian candidate. That's basically the short of it. They've known this since the days of Babylon, Canaan, and all that stuff, land of Canaan. They were doing stuff like that, but they refined and refined and refined and refined into SRA, which is now, it's just a satanic science that they use very easily. Trauma bonding, they know exactly the ages to the month where they can create DID, which is basically split personality disorder, renamed, and they know how to traumatize. What happens is when you get traumatized, your soul kind of jumps out of your body, so you have just access to the beast body, and the soul is hovering, and you can just rewire it, and it'll protect itself by splitting the mind into two personalities, and then you can split those modules into other modules. It doubles. It uses the doubling technique. So 2 turns to 4, turns to 8, turns to 16, and you can do this, I believe, up to 32 personalities, but don't quote me. And they've got like the kitty programming, especially for all these girls like Katy Perry, and all of them tend to go under some certain kind of kitty programming to seduce the masses. Follow the stars, right? So the counterculture was created so that they would be able to experiment with complete impunity with what they learned from these Nazi scientists. And then when they were ready to they were kind of done with that mess, and they were doing the whole Vietnam thing, which is a whole other can of worms, but they were ready to kind of reformat America because they've gotten what they needed and they've perfected the things that they wanted to perfect. So they needed to create an event like they always do, because they want civil war. They don't want revolution. So they get when people are fed up, they just convince you that the other guy is doing it. And usually the other guy is kind of doing it because they're useful idiots. So they rally them, but then the government's like, oh no, it's not us, it's that guy. We're the good guys. We're trying to stop it. Elect us and we'll stop this. So they get caught up in that. So instead of having a revolution, they have a civil war, and that's what they wanted. They wanted to make these hippies that were just, free love, right? We're just lab rats doing acid and expanding our minds. In the meantime, people like Timothy Leary were CIA assets. People like the feminist that said, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Her name's not coming to mind still, but she was a CIA asset. So all this feminism bullshit is literally just communism. And communism is literally the protocols of the learned elders of Z. So communism comes from that. The way it's structured is a hierarchical system based on authority, not truth. Based on gov, not God. Based on a casting system, right? The chosen people that self-selected, by the way, and I don't want to go into that, but there's a reason why they worship the Babylonian Talmud, right? And even if you look at the Old Testament, and I've made videos on this. You can go back and look. Yahweh says, I am good and evil. So he's not the one true God. Sorry to spoil it if this is your first time hearing it. So this comes back all the way back from the beginning of humanity, from Sumer. But the protocols have been turned into communism, Marxism for the economic system to control the free market, socialism, all these different incarnations, and feminism is one of them. So that turned women acting masculine, right, and not having any respect for the fact that they are a stargate that incarnates souls, the most important thing on the planet. Women are arguably a lot more important than men. But it's a yin and yang, right? It's a balance because the men protect the perimeter when the woman is vulnerable. That's the deal the man and the woman make. He provides, he fights for her and the children that they have. And she is a stargate. And they got women to think that this is weak. Conversely, the females acting masculine destroyed the family, or the men that stayed became feminine, became submissive to the masculine energy that was in the feminist. So the sexual inversion started happening, which today is people being attracted to toasters. So all these seeds were planted in the counterculture that was created to create lab rats. And I didn't even get to Manson yet. So Kanye said that artists create culture. And Andrew Breitbart, before he had his heart attack, CIA ice gun heart attack, said that culture is upstream of politics. So the culture demands the politics and the politicians. Now think what you want to think about Kanye being a whack job or whatever, but there's one thing that he ain't crazy. Artists create culture. Culture demands a politician. So the politicians buy the artists. And this is the cycle. This is what creates chaos culture. So the person that I was trying to talk about, the feminist, second wave feminist, was Gloria Steinem. She said that the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. Gloria Steinem. So feminism is communism made for women. And first wave, equality. Second wave, women are exactly like men. Third wave, all men are arpists. All men are trash. Men are pigs. Fourth wave, men are women. Women are men. And that's where we are right now. I also wanted to say that the counterculture movement used the cross of Nero, which is an upside down cross with the arms broken on it. Everybody knows it as the peace sign, but it's not. It's the cross of Nero. I've made videos on this too. Nero was considered the first Antichrist because he burned down his own city as an FF to maintain power. A tyrant will burn down his own kingdom to rule over the ashes, right? Sun Tzu, Art of War. So Kanye, Breitbart, and then the missing piece. Politicians buy musicians. What was Manson? And before we go to Manson, I feel like I should have prefaced the entire thing by saying that counterculture was developing organically in the early 60s. And with Kennedy's assassination and the prevalence of the MK Ultra programs, one of the many reasons he was assassinated was because he was wanting to expose all this stuff. And they wanted to push society in the opposite direction. This is what they do all the time. The pendulum swings back and forth, and it's pushed artificially. They go this way, then they go this way. Then they go this way, then they go this way. And it's marked by events that are created, artificially created, to create a problem, reaction, solution. Hegelian dialectics, I always talk about. Simple formula. You do something terrible, people demand you fix it. You already got the fix because the fix was what you wanted. So the terrible thing that you do makes the people demand your solution, which was your idea to begin with, and then they think it's their idea. And then the people are happy. But really, you just manipulated them. Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Try to keep that in mind. That's how everything works. Every single historical event since the beginning of time has either been these major events I'm talking about, like what happened in 2001. Those are manufactured to push society in the opposite direction. And then there'll be another one and another one. Every solution is a new problem. Every new problem demands a new solution, which is a new problem. So it seems like there's a speech that Agent Smith gives that's very important. He said that the Matrix was first made perfect and it failed. They lost crops, right? If you understand that the entire concept of the Gnostics thinking that this is the world is a matrix made by the demiurge, which is Yahweh, and it's polarized. So if everything's perfect, then people make up problems. You see this all the time where people, like these kids today, that don't have to do anything, they make up problems. That's our nature. We need struggle. We need to suffer, because when we suffer, we experience pain, which forces us to grow. No pain, no gain, right? And they're interchangeable. Like truth is beauty, beauty is truth. Pain is growth, growth is pain. You can't have one without the other. So the way the powers that be, the Masons of the world, Satanists, working together with Luciferians, dark and light, play this game of polarity. Because otherwise, in the Matrix, they'll lose whole crops, because we have what's called loosh, which is presumably what the archons feed on, etc., etc. Read your Gnostic books. So if you understand Agent Smith's story about losing whole crops, because people are energy, or they're used for energy, they need drama. They need a reason to grow. Winemakers understand this kind of stuff, because you have to make, there's a saying that winemakers have, you have to make the grapes suffer. Because if you give the grapes everything that they need, and you water them perfectly and all of a sudden everything like that, they're not that great. They don't make a great wine. But if you give them just short of what they need, they will push harder to grow and become a superior grape that makes a superior wine. This is a fact. It's a fact regarding anything. That's the way everything works, including humans. We become better humans when we have tragedy, and we persevere, because we are made to struggle. We're made to suffer. Sadly, that is pain. That is the pain we have to go through in order to grow. No other way. Hate to tell you that. So this matrix is made to inflict pain. The way it's handled, it's made to inflict pain, to cause pain, right? Problem, reaction, run away from the pain, run in the arms of solution, right? So you grow, and now you're on a next level, and the new solution will have new pain for you. That'll make you grow again. And that's how they do this. That's how the human crop is forced to evolve. Otherwise, they believe, the cult believes, that humanity will end. They make humanity struggle, and then they cull the useless eaters, what they consider to be the useless eaters, by doing stuff like warp speed, right? They do as they're told because they believe the authorities instead of using their discernment, and then they just weed themselves out. And now you have the cream that has risen to the top. This is what they do over and over. So they sell you climate change, they sell you overpopulation and other fucking nonsense, and they get you like a lemming to go off the cliff, right? They get you to participate because they have to reveal their method so that you submit your free will to them. You become remote control, useful idiot, and you take yourself out for them. That's all part of the game. being played on Earth. And if you think that this is anything new, you can go back to the beginning of time, like I said, to the protocols of Z, and it's just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And then you rewrite history, because the best predictor, those who don't know history, are doomed to repeat it, right? That's one way of saying it. Another way of saying it is past events predict future trends. Financial advisors will tell you this. If you look at how things behave, you tend to behave similarly as they have in the past. So they want to erase the past. They want you to forget the lessons of history so that you're doomed, so that you believe them again, instead of learning that the authorities don't care about you. You are their product, basically. They care about themselves, enriching themselves, empowering themselves, and they're going to lead you off a cliff because they're wolves, not sheepdogs, and not shepherds. Definitely not shepherds. So now we finally get to Manson. Finally, Manson was a musician. Music is absolutely key when it comes to stuff like the MK Ultra programs, because one of the many MK Ultra guys was Ewan Cameron. He got into a loony bin in Canada, and he tortured people, and he did what was called the psychic drive, where he would dose them with all kinds of different drugs, and he would play things. He would cut off, go into sensory deprivation, and he would play stuff over and over and over, sometimes for weeks at a time, to reprogram somebody's mind through repetition. That's music. But what's beautiful about music and how it works is that you don't have to do anything. You create the isolation through stuff like feminism. Now you have broken homes. Now you have children with no one to go to because mom's got 3 jobs. The kid's upset, disgruntled, doesn't have any friends, goes home, blasts music. And that music he's allowing into his temple or her temple. And then she learns the lyrics and repeats the mantras. That's how programs work. For the human mind, you repeat the mantra over and over until you think that it's your idea, or until you have all these different incarnations. Well, what if it means this? Oh, let me study the lyrics. What if it means that? What if it means the other thing? Oh, this person's talking about revenge. That sounds empowering. I want to be that kind of person because I idolize fucking Taylor Swift or whatever. She's getting back at her boyfriends and she's so empowered, right? Instead of realizing that what she's teaching you to do is to match behavior so somebody else dictates how you act. So instead of rising above it, you lower yourself. That's what they teach you. They teach you desperate love. They teach you scarcity mentality. Oh my God, I'm in love. I'm in love with you so bad. I'm going to kill myself without you. Oh, wah. That's what they teach you. All the most amazing love songs in the world are basically every step you take, right? Stalking a girl. Oh, Sting is so sexy. They're all in the entire music industry is MK Ultra. Brainwash. But they're just letting you do it, just like a self-checkout at a grocery store. Here, you do it. You don't want to bother getting people to brainwash you. You do it. Here's these catchy songs. Rehearse them. So Manson was a musician. He was hanging out with the Beatles, right? They were all into occultism. If you ever seen the single released in Europe only, where they are covered in little baby mannequins and like meat and blood and stuff. Yeah, they're all about it. They're all about that Moloch shit. Sorry to tell you. Oh no, they're hippies. They're singing about Sgt. Pepper and expanding your mind and acid. Aleister Crowley was on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's. They're big Aleister Crowley fans. Just like Led Zeppelin, right? What's his name? Was obsessed, bought his house. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. It's pathetic. I'm a musician. But Doors loved Aleister Crowley. They were all in on it because they're like, here, we'll give you all this shit. We'll give you all this money and fame. It's like the devil offering the kingdoms of the world to Christ. Here you go. The temptation. That's the deal. And they all took it. Even now. Even to this day. So they're all obsessed with Crowley. The music industry is mirrored by the Mockingbird media, which just collectively tells you like a uniparty story, and they just do a soap opera back and forth, agony and ecstasy, the human comedy, the masks, the happy mask and the sad mask, and they just keep you polarized and fighting, divide and conquer, salve et caligula, which is on the Baphomet arms, transgender god, that is the god of our age now, Ordo Abekeo, which is an older version of it, which means the same thing. Divide and conquer, divide and conquer. And the more division you create, the easier it is to keep people conquered. And the best way to conquer people is to make them forget their heritage, their past, where they came from. Right? That's why you got the Eminems of the world. They have no idea what their heritage is. And God bless him. Phenomenal rapper, complete idiot. I don't want to listen to his fucking bullshit about what he raps about. And he's an asset, just like everybody else in the industry. But that's why people like him don't know where they came from and act like they're from another culture. That's on purpose. So Mockingbird media is a mirror of the music industry. DARPANet, which is what the internet was originally called. DARPA is a subcategory of CIA. So the entire internet, who knows if any of this is even true, because they control it all. The only reason I think any of this is even true is because they have to tell us, because that's the one cheat that they can't have. They have to tell us. That's why they tell us about Christ. That's why they tell us what they're doing with their little shows and all this different stuff. They tell us, just like they did in the Olympics, so that we know, so that when we do nothing, that's compliance. It's like a pocket veto. If you don't do it, it expires. And now we told you didn't do anything, so now you've given us permission. And then NASA, another storyteller, like I said in the first video, NASA, Wernher von Braun, Project Paperclip, back full circle. Wernher von Braun was super good friends with Walt Disney, who invented Imagineering. Walt Disney, big bigot, I don't want to say the words, massive bigot. Looks like he might have been the P word as well. Not a nice man, but was sold as good old grandpa. Good friends with Wernher von Braun, ex-Nazi scientist. Imagineering the universe. And you know what's on his epitaph? Psalm 19:1. What's Psalm 19:1 about? The firmament. Now, don't get excited, flat earthers, because flat earth is just another psyops. It's another round earth versus flat earth psyops. The real deal is this is all holographic. And honestly, some of us might be in old programs. Have you ever gotten a game where they just had these upgrade packs and the game changed? Just like an app. You download an app and then you download the update and it changes the format. So there's people that might be living on the flat earth hologram at the same time that a round earth updater guy is talking to them, and they both think that they're idiots. But that's the real parallax. They're both right and they're both wrong. Talk about divide and conquer. While we're talking about NASA, Jack Parsons, giant occultist, buddies with Aleister Crowley. All of this is connected. All this is connected. All this stuff comes. Parsons was obsessed with John Dee, who was Queen Elizabeth's mystic. All the Black Mirror shit that you see nowadays, even the show Black Mirror, that's a nod and a wink to John Dee. He's talking to demons and shit. All documented. All of this is documented. All this stuff you can look up. If I get anything wrong, please correct me. So these MK Ultra programs, really, they had already started doing them in America before Project Paperclip, before they brought the scientists over in 45. But really, Joseph Mengele, was the guy that was doing twin research. He wanted to know what the best way to traumatize a child would be so that you can create these DID, dissociative identity disorder, DID, used to be called split personality disorder, to create these automatons that you can program, these Manchurian candidates. That work Joseph Mengele did a lot of that work, and they brought it over to America. Now, he tried getting kids to unalive the people that brought him into the world, but that just wasn't traumatic enough. But twins were the perfect situation, which goes back to John, why he made the female twin. That was an extension. That was another version of the same experiment. If you get one twin to off the other one, that mirror, because mirrors are everywhere, that's the peak. And then you can just get in there and rewire everything, no problem. And that's what they wanted. That's what the trauma bonding, the best trauma bonding, involves. So when you hear people talking about clones and stuff like that, there's a very sinister side of cloning. And cloning is real. Everybody's talking about, oh, that guy's a clone, that guy's a clone. I wanted to touch on this too. I know I'm all over the place, but all of this stuff is related. It's a spider's web. It's all interrelated. All these people know each other throughout generations and generations. All these people, Nygaard, Epstein, Branson, they put millions and millions and millions of dollars into cloning programs and getting women pregnant. Actually, Elon Musk right now has got like 11 kids, I think. These rich people that run the world are obsessed with seeding the world, getting rid of the useless seeders, and seeding the world with their nation. Biblical meaning of nation, it means your branches of your tree. Just like the 12 tribes were Jacob's 12 children, Israel's 12 children, right? That's a nation, not the state of Israel, by the way. Another video that I've made a million times. I hope you're keeping up, and if you have any questions, please put it in the comments. So Joseph Mengele, after World War II, moved to Argentina with Hitler. We had the trials with a handful of people that did some shit, but that was just revenge fantasy for the masses. It kept you distracted. They kept them distracted, just like they do now, right? Something happens, and then we watch a trial about Johnny Depp and his girlfriend who shit on his bed. And then we talk about it at the water cooler, because that's more important than what's going on, right? That should monopolize the news, gossip, and tabloid bullshit instead of what's going on in the world. Look over here. Don't look over here. Magic. So they moved to Argentina. Hitler, by the way, had kids, one of which it really looks like was Angela Merkel. And then part of his bloodline, which is kind of a complicated way to go around, is Barack Obama. And, yes, his wife is his husband.
Penis.
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 Penis!
And his adoptive father was an Indonesian warlord. That's why he's so rich. That's why he has a house in Martha's Vineyard. And also, why would you buy a house on the shore of Martha's Vineyard if climate change and the water was rising? Like, if that was a thing, why would you do that? Because you're full of shit. That's why. So John Money did the twin experiments. And this is where all the Baphomet inversion comes, modern day, fourth wave feminism, right? Men or women. And if you look, Barbara Bush sure looks like she was Bush's husband. And if you follow the bloodline backwards, her mom had an affair with Aleister Crowley. Sure looks like it. It's not 100%, but it's like 90%. Look it up. So Big Mike with Barack Obama is nothing new. Standard. It's a proven fact that Macron's wife, Brigitte, is a man. She groomed him when he was married and had children. And Macron was, I think, like 14 or 15. And the other guy was like 30 years older. And then he left his wife, abandoned his family, all documented, put on a wig, became his wife. French president today. It's modus operandi. So Jolly West is smack dab in the middle, one of the most prominent programmers, MK Ultra programmers. And he taught Manson how to brainwash people so that Manson could turn the hippie generation, taint them, right? Remember yesterday's video or a couple of days ago where I was talking about calling people weird, calling them creepy, and it taints them. And even if it's proven that, no, I'm not weird, well, you already got some on you. They're second guessing you now. It's that. It tainted the whole generation of counterculture so that they can go into what? Disco, astroturfing, streamlining, cookie cutter society, chaos, counterculture, into order out of chaos, ordo ab chaos, right? Destroy, create. This is what they do. The pendulum swings back and forth, and to come back to the beginning of this video, Jolly West, who taught Manson how to brainwash people so that they could end the counterculture revolution. Well, really, it was like a color revolution because it was a controlled revolution. Everything is controlled. In 1963, I believe it was, when Kennedy was assassinated, Oswald was a patsy because that was CIA. And Bush, speaking of Barbara Bush, her husband, was the head of the CIA, was pictured in Dealey Plaza that day, even though he had no business. And when he was asked, hey, what are you doing in Dealey Plaza? Is this you? He's like, nah, that's not me. And he said, I can't remember where I was when Kennedy got shot. Really? You should know all about trauma bonding. Everybody remembers where they were when something traumatic happened. Everybody remembers details because you go in a hyper focus. Your survival instinct kicks in and you're hyper focused. You remember the smell in the air. But, Bush doesn't remember. But just like Seth Rich, he was taken out by killers, and then another killer kills the killers so that it cuts. That's just, again, modus operandi. So in comes Ruby to kill the patsy. And then what happens? Jolly West visits Ruby, and it looks like he slipped him a bunch of acid because after West left, Ruby lost his mind. MK Ultra. All this stuff. This is the world we live in now. All of it. And the Great Awakening is not just this back and forth between the Great Reset and the Great Awakening. You have to wake up and realize that you are in a matrix. And even if you don't believe all the holographic universe stuff, you have to understand that, let's say, no such thing as a quantum realm, all that stuff, it doesn't exist. It's not, forget that Elon said that us living in base reality is like 1 billion to 1 shot. He said something like it's very unlikely because what we do is we create more of what we are. It's a fractal reality. So the odds of being at base reality are slim to nil. But let's put all that aside. You have to understand that society, everything about society, they crush it, they destroy it, they keep the cream of the crop, and they start a new society. They rewrite society, they rewrite history so that you don't know the lessons of history, and they use the same old tricks, nothing new under the sun. That's it. And Jolly West bookended that whole period from the 60s to the 70s, a decade. They hijacked the hippies. They created a counterculture color revolution, right? A controlled revolution. And then they ended it so that they could take everything that they did and make cookie cutter society. And we're still dealing with that. Now we're dealing with the Baphomet transition into no polarity. Thank you guys very much for watching. God bless. I'll see you next time.